Okay, let's talk about the interface of a Cinema 4D Studio. Okay, you can see here the interface of Cinema 4D Studio version 16. Okay, you can see a menu bar over here, a toolbar, a second modeling toolbar. You can see timeline over here. You can create animation by using this timeline. You can see object manager over here, content browser, and structure. Okay, let's start with the basic structure. It's called layout. Okay, right now we're working with the startup layout. Okay, I can click over here and you can see there are different type of layouts available for different type of purpose. Like for animation, we can create, or we can go to the animation layout. So we can see the timeline and cover editor where we can modify our animation in different way. Okay, if I working with a, body paint 3D paint, okay, so it's create a interface of a body paint 3D, which is a different software, and I can tell you later on about this software. Fine. The next thing is a body paint UV edit modeling. Okay, if you are working with a modeling techniques, so we can use this interface to create a model. Okay, very easily we can create a lots of model by using this interface. All the tools, those we can use create a modeling, these are very handy over here. Okay, it's not active right now, but whenever we start working on it, it shows different use of these tools. Next thing is a motion tracking. Okay, if you creating a, you can, if you adding any 3D object in a live shoot or live footage, okay, that time you can use this motion tracking layout to track that live footage and insert a 3D object, 3D character, 3D effects, 3D text, whatever it is, inside that live footage, and it's look more real or more realistic in that live footage. Okay, I will explain that thing again later. Okay, we are seeing a interface. Okay, next thing is a sculpting. Okay, this is for a detail modeling, something like if you want to create a rashes on a face, pimples or something like that in a 3D character, on a 3D character. If you want to create something like a stone, something like a stone, a grain on that, okay, that time we can use this sculpting module, sculpting layout, that will have lots of tools that can be used by while sculpting. It's like a real sculpting, a real world sculpting. The next thing is a standard. Okay, whatever we start with the standard is a very basic one, and I prefer to work with this layout at a startup because this have lots of option and very easy to understand. That's why. The next thing is a visualize. Okay, if you working with the architectural model, that time this layout is very useful to you because it have lots of option related to architectural model. Okay, next thing, Cinema 4D menu. Okay, we can create our own layouts by using these things. Okay, I can tell you how can we create a different type of layouts by using these options, but later on I will explain about this. Okay, so I jump back to my standard option, standard layout option. Now you can see this is a perspective view. Whenever we work with the 3D software, we have to see object from different angles. Otherwise, we can't see the realism of that object. That's why we use different layouts or different viewports. Okay, right now we can see only perspective, but when you click a middle click over here, you can see we have a four views over here. This one is a top view. Whatever we see from this view is the top of that object. This is a right view. You can see whatever we see in this viewport, it's the right side of that object and the front of this. This is the front viewport. Whatever we see this from this viewport is the front of that object. Okay, there's a lots of different things available, a lot of different views available in this software, like a camera view, top, left view, bottom view, but I will explain you later on. Okay, when I click again middle click it, okay, it's become, okay, we can maximize that any viewport where we middle click it. If I want to maximize top viewport, okay, I just click over here and you can see I maximize the top viewport. Again I place middle click and I go back to a four view viewport, four view layout. Okay, fine, I just jump back to the perspective. Okay, the most important thing when we start any project is a project setting. Okay, where you can see the project setting. If you can't find a project setting over here, don't worry, just go to edit and you can see the project setting is available over here. Either you can click over here or you can directly jump to the project setting. You can see lots of different things available in a project setting. Let me explain a project setting. Okay, the first thing is called scale. Okay, what scale, what parameter or what unit you want to work with. Okay, if you're creating any product, okay, it's something like a shampoo bottle or something like that. I just want to create a small product designing, okay, a shampoo bottle or medicine bottle. That time I can use a unit called maybe centimeter, millimeter or micrometer. Okay, but when you create any stadium, that time this unit are not useful, so that time you can use a feet or the maybe a yards. Okay, and for the bigger thing we can use kilometers or miles. This depend on your project, what you are going to create. You can set this scale by using these options. Okay, next thing is the fps. Fps is a frame per second. Okay, how fast you want to show your animation to the world, that's depend on the fps. Okay, there are different type of fps like we normally use 30 fps in 3D software, but for movie we use 24 fps, 25 fps, or 29.97 fps for different purpose. For television we can use 29.97 fps or 24 fps. Okay, I'll explain you later on how to where we can use different type of fps for different purpose. Okay, minimum time, preview minimum time. Okay, these are different things. Okay, I will explain this later on because this is not right now. I can't explain because I'm not create any animation over here. But when you create animation, I will surely explain these all things. Okay. Next thing in this is called info. Info means what? Whatever we create over here. Okay. If you want to see your name on that product, okay, you can fill this info form. So whenever you save that product and open in another software or another Cinema 4D version, it shows that this project is created by some like anybody. Those author name is there. You can see the copyright things over here, information about it, and lots of different things filled by software over here. Next thing is the dynamics. Dynamics means particles or rigid body dynamics, soft body dynamics. There are different particle systems or dynamics available in this software, and it is very realistic. For that, we can set some option over here like a gravity or density of this software of the particles, and the temporary saving object or something like that in dynamic option. Referencing is normally used for rigging part. Okay, when we create a character, okay, we have to rig that to animate that. Okay, that time I can use this referencing option. Okay, and the next thing is a to-do list. Okay, is a very common one. Okay, whatever task we want to do this with this project, we can record over here, and then after we can keep it in done or in a task, undone task. Next thing is the key interpolation. Okay, what is the key interpolation? It's normally used for animation. Whenever we create animation, okay, for smoothness of that animation, we have to do keyframing, and that time we can use this option to smooth out our animation, or maybe a rigid animation like a robot, or a smooth animation like a human being. That time you can use these functions to create a perfect animation. Okay, now next thing, it's a toolbar. Okay, let me start with this toolbar. Okay, these are toolbar over here. We can see these are tearable. Tearable means what? We can tear it, and we can drag it over here. Okay, you can see the lots of things are there. Okay, I can go with a little bit bigger one. Okay, or the mesh line, there are lots of things are there. Icons, create tools, yeah, this one. Okay, when you right click on it, it show me like a icon or text. Okay, you don't want to see the text, you can right click it and see show text icon or text below the icons. I can go over here and say text like this, or I can go and say only icon and text. Okay, here you can see icon size. We can change the icon size of toolbar, tools, orientation. Okay, you can see the horizontal manner or in a vertical manner. Okay, if you want, I want these tools should be over here, so I can access very easily. So very easily you can do that. Okay, for any manager or the toolbar, you can just simply, you can see there's some dotted line over there. You can drag and drop this dotted line anywhere, and you can see that will be shown over here. Okay, to reject that or to reveal that, okay, I just drag it back and I can keep it over here. Okay, I want to undock that, so I just right click on these small dotted lines and I say undock. So you can see I undock that and I can see it very clearly. Okay, I close that. Okay, whenever I close it, still it's over there inside my object or menu. Let me start with the different type of managers in Cinema 4D. Here you can see different type of managers inside window menu. Something like a content browser, object manager, material manager, attribute manager, coordinate manager, layer manager, okay, structure manager, texture manager. There are different type of manager available inside Cinema 4D and is do different type of things. Okay, let me start with the basic object called object manager. When we create objects over here, okay, let me just create a small object like a cube. Okay, you can see there's a name of cube over here inside object manager. Okay, we can rename that cube, we can modify that cube, we can do lots of things by using this object manager. Okay, if you want a different version of the object manager for my reference, for my different rigging things, I can click on this plus sign, so it can create different object manager for me. So I can distribute my objects in different object manager. Something like for two different character, I can keep a two different object managers. That will be easy to understand, easy to work with that object or with their characters. Fine, here you can search a character or object or anything inside this object manager by using this search tool. Okay, you can enter your name of the object or color of the object or something like that, and you can very easily find object from the lots of different objects. Okay, after object manager, there's a different thing called a content browser. You can access that content browser by using a window option. Okay, here is a content browser, or you can directly click over this tab and you can see there's a content browser available inside this tabulation. Okay, you can see over here. Okay, content browser is something like our window browser or window explorer to browse or to explore things from our PC or computers. Something like we can double click on this computer icon and we can access our drives, different drives for the content. Okay, I can go back or go up by using these arrows. I just go back. Okay, a favorite locations in hard drive, hard or on a website, you can directly access by using this favorite option. You can access network computer by using this network option. If you have a network access or a network of computers, that time you can access a different machine or different PC by using this network option, and you can import anything from that machine inside Cinema 4D by using this network option. Okay, here is a very important thing called preset. Okay, here we can save our own preset or we can access a preset given by Cinema 4D. Let me explain about this very interesting thing. Okay, I double click on this preset option. You can see lots of things are there, like for visualize there are some preset available. For studio there are some preset available. For sky, if you want to create a sky dome or something like that, that time you can use this sky preset, a sculpting preset, a prime, a basic preset, some default preset available inside the default folder, a broadcast. Okay, if you're doing some motion graphics or anything like for a motion graphics, you can use the broadcast preset. Brick shader is a very important for us because we create lots of things those look like a bricks or different things. That's why that time you can use this brick shader. And body paint 3D. Body paint 3D is a different application, but we can directly access that application by using this Cinema 4D version 16, and we can sculpt, we can paint a object, a 3D object like a real object by using a body paint 3D. Okay, now we jump to studio option. I just double click on the studio. You can see we here I have three objects. I double click on it, a door, staircase. Okay, whenever I want to create, I just double click on it, and you can see it's open inside my perspective view. Fine. I go back, example scenes, something like character examples. Okay, the different character examples are there. Let me clear these all things. So I just go and say close all. This way I can close all open files by using a one click. I don't want to save that, so I just say no. And now I can see the clear canvas or clear grid over here. Okay, I just click on this animated teapot. This is a C4D file. I just double click on it and you can see a character, animated character inside my viewport. Okay, I can jump to different character. Just double click on it. Okay, just first pause it and just double click on this C motion mouse, and you can see a 3D character with all the rigging settings over there. You can see the bones of that character, so you can see the controls of the character inside this viewport. These are different things available inside this content browser. Fine. Okay, render examples. The different heavy things are there. Okay, grapes. Okay, you can create something like this in Cinema 4D. See, it's it's too realistic, but it's all 3D. Okay, fine. Now jump back to a basic thing. Okay, you can explore the lots of things by using these presets, particle presets. Examples are there. You can study this example to create your own setups or say your own files. Okay, I jump back to the next thing is structure manager. Structure manager normally used to create a rig like this. Okay, and here you can modify the rig. You can see the movement of each and every bones over here in the structure manager. Okay, I explain you this thing later on because we're just starting with the basics. So I will explain this in the next modules. Okay, here you can see object manager, something. Next important manager is called attribute manager. You can access the attribute manager by using this window option and attribute manager, or we can click on this small tab over here to access the attribute manager. Attribute manager is very important for us. Why? Because whatever we create inside Cinema 4D, it can be modified by using this attribute manager. Let me explain about this. I create a small cube over here. You can see whenever I create this cube, all property of this cube appear inside this attribute manager. So I can modify this cube by using this attribute manager. Okay, now I want to create a material or texture for this cube. So either I can go inside window, a material manager, or I can click over here on this create option and create a new material. It will create a very flat material for me, and you can see all these material property appear inside attribute manager. So I can modify this material according to my needs. But whenever I want to click on this cube, it show me the cube properties. Now to apply this material on this cube, I just simply left click and drag this material on that cube. Okay, now we can see the texture tag of that. Okay, when you click on this cube, it show me cube properties. When I click on this small material tag, it show me material properties. That's why it's very important manager for us, because we can modify each and everything like animation, rig, particles, motion graphics, text, each and everything by using this attribute manager. Let's talk about the viewport navigation and transform property of Cinema 4D. Okay, here you can see a blank viewport over here. It's a perspective view. I can navigate other viewport by pressing F1 for perspective F2 for top view, F3 for right view, F4 for front viewport, and F5 to navigate the all viewport at a time. Okay, again I press F1 to jump back to the perspective viewport. You can press this small icon over here to see all 4 viewport at a time. Okay, fine. Now let's talk about the navigation of the viewport. Here you can see small icons over here. The first icon is for panning. I can click on this object and I can pan my viewport very easily. Next thing is for zoom in or zoom out in viewport. And third thing is for rotation of my viewport. To do these all things by using a keyboard shortcut, you can press Alt and left click for rotation of the viewport. Only middle click for zoom in zoom out, and Alt and middle click to pan the viewport. This you can do the same thing by using a keyboard shortcuts. Now we'll repeat these all things by using a object. So I click over here, I create a very small object or basic primitive of torus. You can see the 3D object over here. I can press F2 to see the orthographic view of this torus. You can see from top, I can see the orthographic view of this torus. Okay, let's see from right view. You can see the side part of this torus. I can press F4 for a front. Okay, now the circular object, front and side or right will be same. I jump back to F5 to see this object from different viewports. Okay, I press F1 again to jump back to perspective view. Fine. Let's pan it, zoom it, and rotate it. Okay, so you can you do with your keyboard shortcuts, Alt and left click for rotation, middle click roll for zoom in zoom out, and Alt and middle click for panning. Okay, let's talk about the transform controls. What are the transform controls? Transform control means we can move object, we can rotate object, we can scale object by using these transform controls. Okay, here you can see the transform control over here. The first one is for move, shortcut is E. Second one is for scale, shortcut is a T. And the third one is for rotation, shortcut is R. So whenever we want to move any object, we can press E to get a transform control. You can see we already have this transform control or move control. I can click and drag this on this particular axis. It's a Z axis. You can see over here, it's showing over there in which axis we are moving it. You can see some number changes over here. That is showing that how far we move our object in Z axis. Same with the Y axis and same with the X axis. Okay, the next thing, I press R for rotation controls. This thing we call gizmo, rotation gizmo. I just rotate that like this. In any another axis, I can very easily rotate that like this. The next thing is for scaling. I press T, or I can click over here for scale controls or scale gizmo. See, again I can scale it in a Z, X and Y. Okay, now it's look real. It's understanding rotation or scaling in understanding scaling in circular object is a little bit difficult over here. So I just delete this object by pressing delete key, and I click another object or I create cube over here. Now I can go to scale controls and I can see these small controls over there. You can scale it in a Y, scale it in a
Z and scale it in a X. This we can manage this thing. This we can modify the transform controls. Let's talk about the scaling in detail. I create a small primitives cube over here. I want to scale that. If you want to scale the entire cube, click on this scale icon over here, or you can press shortcut T, and you can scale the entire cube by using this small handle over here. But if you want to scale only one side of this cube, so that time you can click on this small icon or small dot over here to scale particular sides of a cube. It is available in move to. Yes, we can modify the cube. Now learn about the coordinate system. Now let's learn about the coordinate system inside Cinema 4D. You can see the small icon of a coordinate system. We can use a word coordinate system or object-based coordinate system. Let me explain about this. See, when I rotate this object, you can see the gizmo is transformed, it's rotated according to that icon. But I want to reset that to its default. I can click over here and you can see it's get reset. The same with the transform. See, I can click over here and you can see it's reset to the global coordinate system. When this gizmo move, rotate or scale according to your objects, we call that objects coordinate system. But when you get reset to the viewport, we call that a global coordinate system. Shortcut to activate this is a W. You can press W to jump from the global coordinate system to the local coordinate system, object-based coordinate system. Let's talk about the viewport menus inside Cinema 4D. Here you can see the view of perspective. Here we can see some menus over here is all regard to the viewports. Let me explain about the view menu over here, but first let me create a small setup of the object to explain about this view menu. I go here in my basic primitives option. I click over here and I create a cube. I move this cube little far from my center point or center of this grid. Then I go over here again and I click on this torus. I just drag this torus from the center. And then after I click a sphere over here and drag it in different axes. Okay. Inside view menu, the first option is called undo view, but it's not active right now because we are using a very basic or default viewport angle. So I just modify this angle by using our shortcut key Alt left click for rotation, middle mouse roll for zoom in zoom out, and Alt and middle click for panning. Now to reset that, or I just want to undo this movement viewport angles, so I go inside a view. I say undo view. See, step by step I'm going back to see my default view. Fine. And to reset that, I just go to frame default and I can see it's directly jump back to my startup viewport angle like this. Sometime by accident we zoom it in and we can't see the all object or we can't see particular objects. I want to frame them all object in one viewport. That time I can go inside view and say frame all. When I click on this frame all, I can see my entire object in one view. It adjusts our viewport angle according to our object spread. Let's talk about the camera menu. When I click on this camera menu, you can see we got some navigation option over here, a camera option over here, and some views over here like a perspective view. I can click on this parallel option to see my object in parallel view. I click on this left icon so you see my object from left side, from right side, from front, from back, from top, and from bottom. Cinema 4D provide different type of angles over here. You can click on these different type of angles like a bird view. You can see now the object from a bird view. These different type of angles over there, camera angles over there. Military, something like this. Frog, see something like this. Low depth of field. You can adjust the camera angles as you just jump back to a perspective view like this. If I want to zoom on particular object, so just select that object and go inside view and click on this option called frame selected object. When I click on this object, now I can see sphere at a center. So I can concentrate on this object by using this simple option. When I click on this torus over here, I can click and say I want to see the torus in a center. So I just go and say, I just go and click on this frame selected object to see my torus at the center. This you can navigate the viewport. Let's talk about the display option inside Cinema 4D. Let's talk about display option inside Cinema 4D viewport options. I click on this display. You can see different type of shadings option available over there. I can click on this quick shading. It's look same like this, but when I click on this quick shading with lines, you can see a segment on this object. Okay, this appear on the all object. I say frame all. So you can see this segment or line you can see on each and every object. Then I go to the back or default again, quick shading. This you can see the shadings over here. Option menu. Option menu is for a different or high-end part. We can set our texture over here. We can create a normal option over here. You can see the level of detail. See, sometimes what happened, we create a very heavy model and navigating this heavy model is a little bit different, a little bit difficult for us. That time we can reduce the quality of that model by using this option. It's just for a viewport, not for a final output. I just click on this low. You can see it's showing me very low quality of this object. Again I go inside this option layer of details and I click on this high. So you can see I can see the high res file or high quality of this object. In option, this option called configure. By using configure, we can configure our viewport in detail. Something like I want to change this name. So what will I do? I just go and just retype it, my cam, and you can see it's changed to that name. If you don't want to see this object in the shading, you can click over here and keep it as a hidden line or lines. You can see this object in lines. I just go back to wireframe and I click over here and say quick shading. Lots of different options available over here to modify your viewport, like a filter. I don't want to see this grid. I can click over here on this grid icon and just remove this tick mark from the grid option. You can see now I can't see my grid. You can reactivate that by just clicking over here or go inside filter menu and just click on this grid option. Over here you can see a small dotted line over here. Over here you can see a small red line over here. It's called horizon. I can hide that by using this small click and I can reactivate that by using this small click again. This you can modify the filters by using a viewport menus. Views, you can modify views like you can adjust some title. We can modify some view property by using this view option. Like you can frame your scene by using this title save and action save option. You can zoom it, zoom out. You can change the Excel option by using this view option. Next thing is a back. Back is for a background. We can add some background inside this viewport, but it's not available for this perspective or 3D views. It's only available with 2D views like a front, top, left, etc. I show you in a minute. I press F2 for top viewport. Here you can see this image action option is available. I click over here, I go to pictures option. Let me explain about this back option. I click on this back. Back option is not available with any perspective or 3D view. Is only available with a 2D view, like a top, front, left, right, etc. So I press F2 to jump to the my top view. See, whenever I in this top view, I can see the image menu is activated over here. I click over here to navigate or to search any background or any background picture for this viewport. I go to the picture option over here. You can see there is one small photograph is there or image is there. I can click and open that. Now you can see it's become my background. So I use this for a reference to create artwork in 3D. Sometimes we draw some shapes, we draw some character, and we keep that as a background and then trace inside Cinema 4D to create that character in 3D. You can scale this background by using this X and Y. You can change the transparency setting of this like this. There are different type of mode. Nearest, okay, is for zoom in, zoom out. I keep it as linear. That is good for this kind of files. This way you can change the background of any viewport. This way you can change background of any 2D viewport inside Cinema 4D. Let's talk about HUD option inside viewport configuration options. HUD means head-up display. It's useful to improve our animation quality or workflow inside Cinema 4D. So I click on the HUD. You can see there are lots of information available over here. I can click on this frame per second. So you can see I can see my frame per second over here. You can hide that by just click over here. I want to see my current frame number. So I can click on these frames. So you can showing my current frame number over here. I want to see my frame time. So you can see my frame time over here. I want to see my current tool, activate tool. So you can say I click over here on the active tool. So it's showing my name of my current activated tool inside this small box. This way we can improve our workflow inside Cinema 4D by using a HUD option. Next tab is for stereoscopic movie creation or animation creation. We can create a 3D stereoscopic movie inside Cinema 4D, but for that we have to set two cameras side by side and we have to render that two camera output, and then after we have to edit that, manipulate that by using different softwares. So I tell you later on about this stereoscopic option, but you can have a view on it. There's different type of stereoscopic option available inside this stereoscopic option. Stereoscopic option inside Cinema 4D view configuration panel is mainly to create a stereoscopic 3D movies by using a Cinema 4D. I click over here. You can't see any effect over here because I have to create a 3D camera. Then after I have to create some object, and then after I can see the 3D output from this view. So first I go inside this camera option. Inside this camera option, we have stereo camera option over here. I can click on it. You can see it's showing some grid over here. I create some basic object like a sphere and a capsule. I jump back to option, configuration option, and click on this stereoscopic option. I enable this. See, whenever I click on this enable, you can see the viewport and the cursor of my Cinema 4D is changed. Right now I'm seeing it from anaglyph mode, so you can see red and cyan color over here. I can change to another option like a mono, is a simple one, anaglyph, interlaced, shutter, or side by side. These are different technique to create 3D movie or 3D stereoscopic movie by using a Cinema 4D. I can change the parallax over here. You can see right now I'm seeing two views over here, one for left eye, one for right eye. For a perfect output, I have to render these views into different manner, one for right eye, one for left eye. Then after I have to composite these two views inside compositing software like a Nuke, Fusion or After Effects. And then after you get a final output or final stereoscopic output from compositing software. This way you can create a stereoscopic movie inside Cinema 4D. Render setting and keyboard shortcuts. What is a rendering? Rendering means taking your Cinema 4D output for different software or for a client. Rendering means your final output from a Cinema 4D. Now, how can we set render settings? Okay, you can click over here on this small icon over here, or you can press shortcut called Ctrl B to get this render setting display. Now here you can see the render setting is there. The first column is called a renderer. What is a renderer? Render is some kind of plugin, those who can improve our rendering dramatically. Something like a Maxwell renderer or V-Ray renderer. But right now we are working with only default renderer. So you can see over here, these are standard, physical, software, hardware or Cineman. Right now I'm working with a standard mode. Next thing is output. Output means what? In what size you want to take your Cinema 4D output for a different software or for a client. Here is a small icon over here. You can press that icon. You can see there's some preset over there like a screen for websites, for films or video. These are different presets available inside Cinema 4D for cinema or film output. For a printing in portrait mode, you can see different sizes for printing, or you can go with a landscape print. There are different sizes for landscape printing. These are well-known presets for rendering in Cinema 4D. But if you want to create your own size or own preset, you can very easily create inside Cinema 4D render settings. See, right now there is a width and height option there. You can change it very easily, and you can see I'm customizing my output by using these width and height options. I go back to default one, is 800 by 600. Now I want to lock the width and height. See, when I drag a width, you can see there's no change in the height, but I want to lock them both. So what will I do? I just go and first reset it, and then I click over here small icon called lock ratio. I just click on this tick mark, and now whenever I change the width or height, my other property will change according to that change. Okay, I reset it again. Okay, the next thing is a pixel. Okay, I'm rendering in a pixels. Okay, if I want to render it in a different unit, so I can click over here. You can see I can render it in a centimeter, millimeter, inches, point or picas. The different units available for a rendering, but right now I keep it as a pixel. Okay, the next thing is called resolution. What is a resolution? Resolution means in a per square pixel. Resolution means in per square inch how many pixels will be there for a printing or for the view. Right now it's set to 72, but for a high-end printing or high-end animation I can keep it around 300 or 600. It depends on your client requirement, so you can set it again default. We can set this according to our client requirement. Next thing is render region. If I don't want to render each and everything from my view, I just want to render some part from my view, that time I can use this render region option to customize my rendering or just shorten my rendering towards some point. This way I can control my rendering by using a render region. Next thing is a film aspect. What is a film aspect? There are different type of aspect ratios available for a rendering, like a square, a standard, HDTV, 35mm still, widescreen, 35mm animation video or Panavision. It depend again what your client required or what is your client requirement. That time you can change this according to your client need. Next thing is the pixel aspect ratio. Again, you can see this is customized. You can use a square, DV, NTSC, DVPAL, something like this. It's again depend on your client requirement, so you can set according to your client requirement. Now next thing is the frame rate. Frame rate is called FPS, frame per second. On FPS your speed of animation depends, so you can set it according to your animation. Sometime I keep it as a 24, sometime I keep it as a 25 or 29.97 or 30 or 60. It depends again on your output quality or requirement of a client. Frame range. Right now I am rendering from the start of this point till the end of this animation. I am rendering around 91 frame from 0 to 90. But if I don't want to render the entire sequence or entire animation, I just want to render some part of that animation. That time I can set it around from here. Like I want to render it from frame number 50 till frame number 80. Just type 8 over here. Yeah. Now I'm rendering 31 frame from my entire animation. This we can render particular part from the entire animation for a test purpose, for client upload purpose. You can set it according to your need, or you can go with the all frames or preview range or current frame, from the current frame to last frame. It depends on your need. Filled, even first or odd first. This is for television's purpose. If you want to show your animation or video, whatever you create in a Cinema 4D on a television, that time you can use this even first or odd first. Annotation. If you want to save some personal note with this rendering, you can type here in annotation. So you can save this personal note with the animation for other artist or for a client. Save. Now, where you want to save this output and in which format you want to save your output is depend on this save option. Save is for where I want to save my animation or video effects, whatever I create inside Cinema 4D. I have to save on different folder for my client or for my other softwares. So here you can click over here and you can set a output path where you want to save your output. Which format you want to save your output. The different format available over here. You can see JPG, DPX, PNG, RPF, Targa, or video for AVI. Next thing, a depth of your output is depend. If you want to do some color correction on this output, you have to keep it around 16-bit or 32-bit for color correction purpose. If you want to show this video on YouTube, that time you can keep it as a 8-bit channel. Is depend on your output where you want to show it. A name of the output. If you want to sequence of the frame sequence, if you want to render frame sequence, that time you have to use this. The different type of presets over there. You can choose whatever you want. Next is alpha channel. If you want, next is image color profile. Next is image color profile. In which profile you want to save your output is depend again for other softwares. Like if you want to do some color correction, you have to save a color profile like other softwares where you want to edit this video or this animation movie. So it's depend again where you want to take your animation for final output. If you want to save a transparency information with your output, that time you have to tick this alpha channel option. And for smoothness of the animation, you can keep this 8-bit dithering on or include it sound. If you want to render a sound file with your animation or output, that time you have to keep this tick mark on. If you're going to open this file, you can see After Effects, Nuke, Motion, Shake or Digital Fusion. You can directly jump from this Cinema 4D layout or interface to directly other compositing software like After Effects, Nuke, Motion, Shake or Digital Fusion. Multipass option. If you want to render your output in a layers like a shadow, reflection, refraction, specular, that time you can use this multipass option. Here some multipass given by Cinema 4D, ambient, diffuse, shadow, reflection. For final compositing, we normally use layers for a better result. So you can manipulate these layers inside compositing software and improve our output dramatically. Anti-aliasing is for smoothness of your objects or your animation. You can keep it like a geometry or best. Best is the best option. So you can keep it best for good result. Options. If you don't want to render a transparency, refraction, shadow, you can remove this tick mark. What kind of passes or layers you want to render with this file, you can adjust that all things by using this option. In stereoscopic option, stereoscopy is normally used for create a 3D stereoscopic movie. So if you want to create some 3D stereoscopic movie, you have to keep these things on. But for that, you have to render two output, one for left eye, one for right eye, and then you have to composite that in different compositing software for a final output. The different type of stereoscopic mode available here. You can go with the anaglyph or side by side or interlace options. If you using a big network of computers for rendering, that time you can use this team render. By using a big network or more than one PC for a rendering, you can improve your rendering by using a team render. It's something like a network rendering, but you have to first set the all things like a one manager, host PC and other slaves or guest PCs. Those can help to improve your rendering or fasten your rendering. This all setting done by using a team render or team render settings option from the plugin option. If you want to render your output with some pre-adjusted effects, that time you can go over here inside effect option and you can add some caustic effect or global illumination effect or glow or filters effects, sketch and tune effect by using these presets. If you want to use this render setting again and again, it's better to save that for future use. You can save your render setting by using this render setting option. You can save this render setting by using this render setting option for your future use. See here, you can save or new. You can create your own render setting preset for future use. Keyboard shortcuts inside Cinema 4D. Keyboard shortcuts are fastest way to access any tool, manipulate any object, refine your animation inside Cinema 4D. We can customize our own keyboard shortcut, or you can manipulate already assigned keyboard shortcut inside Cinema 4D. For that, you have to access this window menu. Inside window, there is an option called customization. Inside customization, you can click on this customize command and you can see customize command option over here. See, there are lots and lots of tools inside Cinema 4D, and you can access lots and lots of keyboard shortcut on these tools. Let me first create a shortcut for this cube icon or cube object. Let me first check, is there any shortcut already available for this cube? I can filter that name by using this name filter option. I type cube over here and you can see there is no shortcut available for this cube. Okay, fine. Now I want to create a shortcut for this cube. I can go over here inside the shortcut option and I type whatever shortcut I want to use to create a cube. I use Control Shift and Q to create cube inside Cinema 4D. But first let me check, is this shortcut already assigned to any another tool or object or effect? So I can click over here. Again I press this shortcut Control Shift Q and I can see over here there is no this shortcut assigned to any another option. So I can remove this and I can use this shortcut to create cube inside Cinema 4D. I just add this. You can add multiple keyboard shortcut to create one object inside Cinema 4D. I want to execute that. I want to check that. So I just click on this execute button. You can see it's create cube by using that shortcut. I just close this. I delete this cube. Now I want to create cube by using a keyboard shortcut. So I just press Control Shift and Q to create cube by using keyboard shortcut. Next thing, I want to change this keyboard shortcut. So I can go again inside window, customization, customize command. I have to find out shortcut for cube. So I just filter this name. Okay, right now the shortcut is Control Shift Q, but I want to use Control Alt Shift Q for this cube. So I just delete this command from shortcut list. I create a new shortcut Control Alt Shift Q to create cube. But let me first check, is this shortcut is already assigned to any other object or command. So I can press Control Alt Shift inside this shortcut filter option and you can see there's no information about this shortcut key. That means it's not available, it's not assigned to any other tool or action. So I just remove this and I assign or add this shortcut for my cube. Again I go and execute that. It's applied for this cube. I did that. I press Control Alt Shift Q to create cube inside Cinema 4D. This we can create our own keyboard shortcut or you can manipulate already created keyboard shortcut inside Cinema 4D. Creating basic primitives and managing it inside Cinema 4D. What is the primitives? Primitives are a base object to create a complex model inside Cinema 4D. There are lots of geometrical shapes available inside Cinema 4D to use as a base to create a complex model or complex animation inside Cinema 4D. You can access that basic primitives by using this icon of a cube. There's a small triangle over here. You can click on this triangle to access the all basic primitives, or you can go inside create menu and you can access that object by using this object option. Both ways are same to access the object. Let me create a cube. There are some basic properties available for each and every primitives. Let me first cover that basic properties and then after I will explain individual property in detail. The first thing is a basic. Inside basic I can change the name of this object from cube to box, and when I click outside you can see it's changed inside this object manager too. Next thing is a layer. Right now my layer manager is empty. You can see there is no layer available inside layer manager, but I create or I can add this box inside layer manager by using this small icon. I click over this on this small triangle and say add to new layer. So you can see inside layer manager you can see the new layer is added over here. We can manipulate that same property inside attribute holder, attribute manager, layer options. The same options are here. You can change the layer name like box work, or you can change the color to any other color, whatever you want. Okay, and lots of property over here for the layers. When I jump back to layer manager you can see all things are updated over here and you can see that all property available inside layer manager. Back to attribute holder or attribute manager. Next thing is visible in editor. If I don't want to use or if I don't want to see this object, I can go over here and I can go over here and I can click on this off button. But whenever I render it, okay, you can see it's available inside rendering. I click over here to jump back to my viewport. Okay, now I can't see the box, or I can't see the box properties, but very easily just by clicking on this box I can access the property again. Okay, I just keep it on. Next thing, if I don't want to see this object inside rendering, I can click over here and say off. Now it's available inside viewport but not available inside rendering. This way you can change the settings. I keep it on again. I want to use some marking color for this object, so I can use this color option. I click it and say on. Now I can choose any other color. It's just a marking color for this object. I can texture it, I can apply metal on it by using a metal editor, but right now it's only in a basic color. I can render it and you can see it's showing me the basic colors of that object. I can remove that again. Next thing is enable. You can enable or disable this object from viewport by using this option 2. And the next thing is X-ray. By using this X-ray option, we can see through this object inside Cinema 4D. So first let me create some inside object, and then after I can show you how can you use X-ray function inside the Cinema 4D viewport option. So I go over here. You can see if I move this handle, you can see the sphere is inside that cube. I select this cube. Right now I can't see the sphere because it's not invisible, or it's not, the cube don't have any transparency over there. So I can click on this X-ray option, so I can see through this cube toward the sphere. On and off, on and off. Next thing is coordinate system. I click on this coordinate system and I can move it from this option. You can see for very precise transformation I can use this option. This for position, this for scale, and this for rotation. So if I want to scale that, I can scale it, see, from one side. If I want to rotate that, I can click over here and I can rotate the object in different angle. Object properties, you can change the size of the object again by these object properties, or you can add a segment inside this object for more detailed modeling techniques. Segments like water in a clay, it can smooth your object for the detail modeling, but if you add more segment, it's make the object heavy and it scratch the software. So better it to add a segment according to your need. Don't add it too much more or don't add it too less. Otherwise you can't create good modeling by using these basic primitives. So I just go here and I display, I can check out lines, and now I change the segment of this cube. You can see I'm adding a segment inside X axis, in Y and a Z axis. You want to separate that all surfaces. I click over here on a separate surface by using this small parameter, or can directly modify by using this small dot over here inside Cinema 4D viewport. In Phong, we can add a basic material to inside Phong. I can add basic material on this object, but I will clear this all things very detailed inside material editor part. So just keep this for a while. Next basic primitives is null. Null is normally used for rigging, for parenting purpose. Inside this attribute manager, you can see basics options are same, coordinate systems are same, but you can see the change inside object option. So I just explain object option in detail. Right now we just see this null as a dot, but when I click over here and say I just want to see as a circle, so you can see the small circle over here. You can change the radius of the circle, aspect ratio, and orientation to camera, or XY, ZY, or XZ. I can keep it as a camera. Next thing, I can go with the pentagon, cube, or diamond shape. There are different type of shapes available inside null option, and you can use it mostly for rigging purpose or for parenting purpose. Next primitive is cone. Okay, you can see the basic shape of cone over here. You can see basic properties are same, coordinate system are same. The changes between this object, cap, and slice. Phong again the same thing as a cube. So I just explain this object, cap, and slice option. I click on this object option. I just change the top radius like this. You can see it's changing its top radius, a bottom radius, height of the cone, height segment. I have to see lines. I can change it like this, and you can change the rotation segments like this. For orientation, you can switch to any other axis. I rotate that to see the top part of this cone, so I can see cap easily. I can click on this cap. I want to see that caps, so just click over here and you can remove the caps from top and bottom. And to increase the cap segment, I can very easily increase the cap segment. I can keep top on or off like this, or bottom on or off. This way you can see the smoothness of the cone very easily. You can change the radius of that smoothness using these parameters. Next thing is a slice. I can cut this cone like this using this option. You can see I cutted that cone in different parameters. You can change the grid size over here using this option. Next primitive is cylinder. Again, basic coordinate systems are same, only change it inside this object, cap and slice. So I click on this object option. I can change the radius of this cylinder, height of this cylinder, height segment of this cylinder, and rotation segment of this cylinder. I can change the orientation of this cylinder by using these properties. For the cap modification, I can click on this caps option. I can remove this cap. I can change the cap segment like this, or I can add a fillet to the corner of this cylinder, and I change the radius of this fillet as per as my requirements. The next thing is a slice. I can cut this cylinder in different way by using this slice option. Next primitive is disc. Object, you can change the inner radius and outer radius. You can add a segment in that disc object and rotation segment in that disc object. Again, you can change the orientation according to your need of that disc object. Slice, you can slice it like this to create better model. Next is plane. Same like a disc, is a flat one. You can change the width, you can change the height. Again, a width segment. For see the segment, you have to go to the shading option, lines option. Then after you can see the segment of that object and the rotation or orientation of that object. Next is polygon. It's either come as a square or a triangle. You can change the width of this polygon option and a segment of this polygon option, triangle or square, and the orientation of this object like this. Next one is sphere. You can change the radius of this sphere, segment of this sphere, different type of spheres options available over here: tetrahedron, hexahedron, octahedron, and hemisphere. This way you can manipulate the property of sphere. Next is torus. Inside object, I can change the ring radius, ring segments, pipe radius, and pipe segments. X, Z, Z minus, like this. You can slice this object using slice command from and to, like this. Next one is a capsule. You can change the radius of this capsule, height of this capsule, height segment of this capsule. You can't see the segment without clicking this lines option. You can see I can manipulating the cap segment of that capsule. Again, you can slice it as per your need from and to. Next one is oil tank. Again, you can change the radius of this oil tank, height of this oil tank, height segment of this oil tank, cap segment of this oil tank, rotation segment of this oil tank, and change to X, Y, or Z. Next primitive is tube. I can change the inner radius of this tube, outer radius of this tube, rotation segments, cap segment, height of this tube, and again height segment of this tube. Again, we can change the orientation of this tube in different way. I can add a fillet on this edge, so I can click over here on this fillet option, and I change the segment of the fillet and the radius of the fillet, so I can create a tire type shape by using this tube. You can slice this tube by using a slice option. Slice, again the from and to. You can see this way you can modify the slice option. Next one is pyramid, a very easy one to understand. You can change the size of different axes. For segment, I can change the segment over here and the orientation of this pyramid. Next thing is platonic. This different type of shapes over here. You can change the radius and the segment of this object by using the segment option. You can modify different type of platonics here, hexa, octa, decia, or different types are there for this platonic shape. Next one is a figure option over here. It's a small human-like object. We normally use this for proportional purpose to create a big model. We can use this as a human proportion and we can scale the model or modify that model or build that model according to this proportion inside Cinema 4D. You can change the height of this model and segment of this model using this option. A very basic form of human being over here. You can use this for rigging also to create a little bit complex rig using this humanoid option. Landscape, you can see very small rough terrain over here. You can change the size of this terrain, segments of this terrain. For more detailed shape, you have to increase the segment, otherwise you can't see the detail of the terrain. You can see here I just decrease the segment of this terrain and you can see it's look very flat over here. You can change the roughness, fineness and scale of this terrain. You can change the sea level or the base of this terrain like this, below the sea level or above the sea level. Plateau level like this. You can create this kind of effect using this option. Again the orientation option like this. For the randomness, you can change the seed level over here. You can see it's just changing randomly like this. Border at seed level, you can remove this tick mark to create something like a value over here, a canyon thing. You want to create this in a spherical manner, just click on this spherical option. So you can see now I can see this object in a very spherical manner. See, like this wooden planet or something like that. You can create very easily by using this option. Next one is a relief. To see the effect of this relief, you have to add a texture on it. So I just go and add texture over here. I just click over here and see this small spherical textures over there. I just click on it and say open. It's asked me about the path. I say okay, yes. And you can see a small plane with some distortion on it. When I rotate that, you can see it same look like a texture we applied from outside. So you can create your own hills and valleys by using this texture option. You can change the size of this relief option. Width segment, again segment is very important for smoothness, so always keep in mind that segment can increase the smoothness of your object or decrease the smoothness of your object. So always try to keep it in a limit but not very less, that way it's not look very rough. I can change the bottom level or up level and the top level like this. Again I can change the orientation to X or Z. I keep it as a Y plus, and again the spherical option to see it in a spherical form like this. You can create using a relief option. The last one is a guide. Guide is normally used to create a guideline while creating a model, like a city model or any complex harbor type of model. That time you can use this guide for the references of the modeling. Right now it's a line. You can see it's a infinite right now, but I can change to half line. So you can see it start from a center point and go far away from the center, or you can go with a segment. So you can change the size of segment. You can see this small dotted drawing over there. You can see the small line over here as my guideline. But right now I keep it as a infinite. I change this mode. So you can see it's in a all axis X, Y and Z. I can change it. I can keep it as a line or as a plane. So I can change the size of this plane. This will be my base to create a model of any house or any another building. And I can say axis center. So it's come into the center of this grid, and I can very easily use that as a base to create any model as per as my requirement. These are all basic primitives available inside Cinema 4D. Very useful to create model, high-end model. And if for the better result, we can apply some modifier on it like this. We can create spline modeling over here or spline object over here. We can use some different type of effects like extrude, loft, sweep, lathe to create complex model by using this line option, and we can create a very high-end model by using these small primitives over here and create a great animation by using a Cinema 4D.